I 38 male thought I had a decent life. Married to Clara for 7 years. Not perfect, sure, but we'd built a life, you know? A home, shared friends, the usual rhythm. Last Saturday, we were at Liam's birthday bash. Loud music, too many bodies crammed in, the typical chaos. I went to snag us some drinks, and on my way back, I saw her. By the sliding glass doors to the patio. Lips completely locked with some guy I'd never laid eyes on before. My gut dropped. Actually dropped. For a split second, I thought the cheap ear was getting to me. But nope. There they were, all wrapped up in each other. Then he pulled back, gave her this smug grin as she giggled. Like it was a scene from a rom-com, not my actual life. I didn't blow up. Didn't raise my voice. Didn't even spill a drop of the drinks. I just did a 180 and headed back to the makeshift bar in the kitchen. Ordered a bottle of the most expensive champagne they had. Figured if there was going to be a toast, I'd control the narrative. When I rejoined our group on the deck, Clara was all smiles, acting like she'd been discussing the weather. Mr. Mystery Man had evaporated. I handed her a flute of bubbly. To new horizons, I said, raising my glass. A few eyebrows went up, but everyone clinked glasses out of politeness. Clara's smile wavered, a slight tremor in her hand. Then I pulled out the envelope. Inside, divorce papers, and a meticulously printed spreadsheet of our joint debts. Mortgage, car loan, credit card, with her half clearly itemized. Her smile completely dissolved. The color leached from her face. What is this, Mark? She stammered, her voice barely a whisper. Consider it a parting gift, Clara, I said, my voice steady despite the internal earthquake. You seem pretty enthusiastic about your new connection. So, here's your clean slate. Figuratively and literally. Her lover, who apparently hadn't ventured too far, suddenly looked like he'd remembered he left the stove on at his place. He mumbled something about a sudden headache and practically sprinted towards the house. Real smooth operator. Clara started to tear up, reaching for my arm, saying it was a momentary lapse, too much wine, a misunderstanding. Our friends were frozen, a mix of shock and awkwardness hanging in the air. I just looked at her, this cold, clear resolve settling in. Nope, not doing the pleading, the bargaining. Done. Part 2, update, the entitlement escalator. Okay, the fallout has begun. Clara has been bombarding my phone. Calls every hour, a novel's worth of tearful texts, and voicemails that sound like a dramatic monologue. Mostly about how it was just a silly drunken kiss, meant absolutely nothing, and I'm blowing it way out of proportion. Apparently, Ethan, that's lover boy's actual name, discovered through some light social media stalking, thanks, mutual friends, has gone completely dark on her. Predictable. Her sister, Sarah, called me yesterday. Apparently, I'm being draconian and unforgiving. Said Clara is emotionally fragile right now, and I should be her rock. Her rock. Last time I checked, rocks don't usually get their tongues down other people's throats. I kept my tone neutral but firm. My decision is etched in stone. Then came the entitlement parade. Clara showed up at our house. Scratch that. My house now, seeing as I own it outright before we married. She let herself in with her old key, acting like it was a minor inconvenience that I was even there. Started rummaging through the fridge. What in the actual hell are you doing? I asked, my voice tight. Getting some of my groceries, she said, all innocent eyes. Don't be selfish, Mark. Your groceries? Clara, I served you divorce papers 4 days ago. The locks are being changed tomorrow morning. She actually rolled her eyes. Don't be so dramatic. We're married. You can't just lock me out. Oh, sweetie, watch me try. She then launched into a tirade about how I was being cruel, how we had years together, how I was destroying our future over one insignificant mistake. One insignificant mistake that involved her making out with a stranger like they were starring in their own bad romance movie. Her dad even called, bless his oblivious heart. Apparently, I need to show some compassion, and that marriage has its ups and downs. I politely pointed out that the down in this scenario involved his daughter's open-mouthed kiss with another man in front of witnesses. He mumbled something about needing to call me back. Doubtful. Ethan finally broke his silence. Not with an apology to me, naturally. He sent Clara a series of whiny texts about how I was crazy possessive, and she deserved someone who understood her needs. Charming. Clara, bless her lack of judgment, forwarded them to me. As if that would make me question my sanity? It just reinforced my initial assessment of their character. The financial demands are ramping up. She's now claiming that the money I spent on my photography equipment over the years was a joint hobby, and she's entitled to half the current market value. Girl, those lenses were bought with my freelance earnings before we even got married. The sheer audacity is breathtaking. It's like she genuinely believes she can rewrite reality to fit her narrative. Newsflash, Clara, the script is flipped. Part 3, Update. The gloves are off, and so is her delusion. Clara and her loyal followers, Sarah and her dad, are now firmly on the Mark is being unreasonable bandwagon, have escalated their tactics. The passive-aggressive digs have turned into outright sabotage attempts. First, the smear campaign. She's been bad-mouthing me to our mutual friends, painting me as controlling and emotionally stunted. Surprisingly, most of our friends, the ones who witnessed the patio performance, are taking her stories with a massive grain of salt. A few, the ones who were always more her friends anyway, have sided with her, posting vague, supportive messages on her social media. Whatever. Then came the financial warfare. She tried to max out our joint credit card. Luckily, I had already frozen it the day after serving her the papers. The attempted charges were declined, and I got a lovely fraud alert. My lawyer is adding this to the growing list of her questionable decisions. Her brother, Kevin, actually showed up on my doorstep again, this time with Sarah in tow. They tried the "we're worried about her" routine, suggesting I was causing her undue stress. I invited them in for coffee and calmly explained my side of the story, the evidence I had, and my unwavering resolve. Kevin actually looked a little conflicted by the end of it. Sarah, however, remained firmly in Camp Clara. The entitlement hit a new peak when Clara sent me a demand for spousal support, claiming she had sacrificed her career aspirations to support mine, which mostly involved her occasionally attending my photography exhibitions. The irony was so thick, you could cut it with a knife. Her career aspirations involved a brief stint selling overpriced candles online. But while she was busy playing the victim and trying to bleed my bank account dry, I was meticulously documenting everything. Screenshots of her increasingly unhinged texts and social media posts, records of her attempted credit card fraud, and a detailed timeline of her demands. My lawyer has been a rock star, advising me to remain calm and let her self-destruct. And she is obliging beautifully. The final showdown? The divorce hearing. Clara arrived looking like she'd raided a charity shop, trying to project an image of wronged innocence. Her lawyer argued that the kiss was a moment of weakness, and that my reaction was disproportionate. Then my lawyer presented the evidence. The texts, the attempted fraudulent charges, the demand for spousal support after she cheated. The judge looked increasingly unimpressed with Clara's narrative. The verdict? Divorce granted with prejudice. She has to return every penny she attempted to charge on the credit card after the freeze, plus a significant portion of my legal fees. And the cherry on top? Ethan, who had the nerve to show up at the courthouse looking smug, was cornered outside by a process server handing him papers for a lawsuit filed by his landlord for unpaid rent. Apparently, Clara had been funding his lifestyle. The look on his face was pure panic. Clara dissolved into a puddle of tears, wailing about how unfair life was. Her dad and Sarah rushed to her side, shooting venomous glares in my direction. Kevin just stood there, a look of weary resignation on his face. Part 4. Resolution. The dust settles unevenly. It's been 6 months since the ink dried on the divorce papers. My finances are recovering. Lawyer fees are a beast, but worth every penny. Clara? Last I heard through the grapevine, she's working a retail job and still blaming me for everything. Ethan seems to have vanished off the face of the earth, leaving a trail of unpaid bills. My friends have been incredible, providing a much-needed dose of normalcy and reminding me that not everyone is a walking red flag. I've even started getting back into dating, cautiously optimistic. Do I have moments where I replay everything? Sure. The 7 years weren't all bad. There's a ghost of what we had that sometimes flickers. But then the memory of that kiss, her entitled demands, and the sheer lack of remorse floods back, and the ghost dissipates. This wasn't about some grand revenge plot. It was about self-respect and refusing to be gaslight. It was about drawing a line and holding firm. Maybe it wasn't the most emotionally cathartic way to handle things, but seeing the shock and disbelief on their faces when I presented the divorce papers with the bill, that was a specific kind of satisfaction. Life moves on. I'm focusing on my photography, reconnecting with old hobbies, and building a future that doesn't involve second-guessing every interaction. And honestly, the peace and quiet are a welcome change. Some endings, even messy ones, pave the way for better beginnings.